Welcome to the 2020 Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. I can't tell you how good it feels to be able to say these things. It's been 32 months since the last round of the GT series over here in Asia, and then of course the pandemic intervened. We lost 2 years of racing, but we are back, and in fact it's fully 37 months since we were last here at Sepang, always the place we start the series. And what a brilliant circuit on which to go racing. Plenty of scope for overtaking, little bit of gradient change among the 15 corners, and I really expect, even though we have just the 8 cars have come here to Sepang, they're all GT3 cars, we've got some of the top runners, and for the next round when we go to Japan we'll have 3 times that many, at least 24 cars coming out to play. We've dipped our toe back in the water, we are going racing again, and that is really, really what counts. And we've got a mixed grid, we've got a Ferrari on pole for the first race, and for tomorrow's race we have a Porsche, so plenty of manufacturer variety, and Mercedes looking to get in on the mix as well. Hot and humid, of course, that's what you'd expect here, but most importantly, we are going racing again. The Fanatec GT series spread all around the world, but this is the Asian series, and it's the first time we've been racing. I'm just going to say it one more time, for 32 months. So, of course, we're bouncing around on the balls of our feet, ready to tilt in and see what's going to unfold over the hour of racing ahead. And if you're new to this form of racing, it's a 1-hour sprint race, and somewhere between 25 minutes into the race and 35 minutes, the driver who starts the race will come in and hand over to a teammate, and they will then go back out to finish the race. Of course, with that 10-minute window, you can choose if you want to keep your starting driver in for as long as possible or for a shorter time as possible. But the way the grid is stacked, largely the second driver, so the driver 2 on the list, is the one who's got a bit more speed and experience. So expect the pit stops to be at the front end. But really what I want to look back to is when we went racing in 2019, and the racing was fantastic. Let's take a look at how it unfolded. Here are the highlights. Well, I had almost forgot just how fabulous the racing was. It was nip and tuck, push and shove, a little bit of hip and shoulder. It was brilliant. And one of the keys of Fanatec GT, we race on the very best circuit. Sepang is a brilliant place to start. But we will shortly, well, when we get to July, move on to 4 races, consecutive races in Japan to form the Japan Cup element. But look at it, 16th and 17th July, Suzuka International Circuit. The following weekend, the magnificent Fuji International Speedway. And then 2 more in Japan, one in August at Sportsland Sugo, and Okayama International Circuit, known as TI Circuit back in the day, competes the Japan Cup element before we go down to a circuit new to us, the Mandalika International Circuit, a very new circuit down in Indonesia. And one thing we know across almost all of these circuits, there could be some very, very great racing. Take a look at this circuit, 15 corners, very tight turn 1, 2, always a feature. And then the track opens out through 3, 4, 5, a little bit of gradient change. The highest point on the circuit is when they get to turn 11, which is at the bottom of your screen. But you've got these 2 long straights out of turn 14 behind the grandstands and then the whole way back down past the pits to turn 1. 5.543 kilometres of pure glory. It's always been a beautiful circuit, Sepang, but it provides brilliant, brilliant racing. So just remember that record, 2 minutes 4.149. That is a very quick indeed. That's faster than both of the poles for this weekend's racing at Sepang. Let's keep an eye on that one. But we are all set here. But one thing that always can provide a curveball at Sepang is the weather. As you can see, we've got cloud, but it's actually thinned out from earlier on. I'd say it's fine weather cloud, but the key is always the humidity. And as we face this opening round of the 2022 season, it's hot. Well, that's a given here at Sepang, but it's also very humid. But the key is track temperature. Yes, it's going to be hot in the cockpits. The drivers know that. Well, track temperature has dipped down a little bit. The cloud must have just thickened a little bit. It was just to the other side of 40 degrees. It's now 39.4. Air temperature has stayed pretty constant through today, so just under 32 degrees. So very hot indeed inside the cockpit, but conditions here can get a whole lot hotter. Important thing, it's 85% humidity. That's pretty unpleasant. Well, that's fine for me in the commentary box, but let's go down to the grid where my partner in crime, Claire Jedrick, it's great to have her back. It's been 37 months and Claire should be raring to go down on the grid.
Hello, welcome back to the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. Yes, my name is Claire Jedrick, and I cannot believe that I'm back here at Sepang, Malaysia after 37 months. And I tell you what, Malaysia does not disappoint. He says it's hot, he doesn't feel it, but I do. My feet are on the circuit right here. It is, I'm just sweating out here. It feels humid. I cannot imagine, actually I can't imagine what it's like for the drivers back here. But whatever it's going to be, we're here right now. It's an action-packed weekend. We've got the manufacturers back, some old faces, some new kids on the block. But first, I think I want to have a little chat because it's very important to know what is going down. And he's heading up the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. We have Benjamin Franicevici. Thank you so much for being back here. Just tell me what is going down with the series. I mean, what does it mean for the series to be back? First of all, in Malaysia, Sepang.
We're finally back in Sepang, where it all started back in 2017, where we had 30 cars. And the last 2 years, we've been at home waiting for restrictions to get back to normal, and we're nearly there. We got our first round here. We've been waiting 2 years, and we're very happy to be here and happy with how it's turning out. It's our first round, and when we're in Japan, we'll have a few more cars. So really, it was important to start here and do it at home. Sepang is like our home track for us.
Now, I know that's what the series feel, but what do you personally feel? I mean, you've had to, you know, put the rock band back together again. On a personal note, what does it feel for you to have gone through these last, well, I say 2 years, but really it's 3 years?
It is. It's been like 30 months. So personally, I'm drained because we had to convince people to come back on the road. You know, it was a long time. People didn't want to take the risk, but I think we made a calculated strategy back in December when we launched the calendar, and slowly we got to this grid, which is I'm quite pleased with. It's a bit modest, but we know we'll have 25 cars in Japan, and we had to get the show back on track, and that's what we've done.
Well, before we're asked to scoot off the track and the drivers have to get ready, I just want to ask you, what are we looking forward to 2022? We've got some new circuits, and we've got a lot of racing in Japan, I hear.
Yeah, so we're starting at home in Sepang, as we've done from the beginning in 2017. Then after that, we go to Japan for 4 events. Japan has always been quite popular with drivers there, so we're expecting the grids to grow. And then at the end of the season, October, we'll be in Indonesia, Mandalika, which is a beautiful racetrack in Lombok Island, which everyone's excited to go to for the first time.
Well, thank you so much, Benjamin. We'll see more of him and the action back on the circuit. We're going back up to that lush voice of reason, Bruce Jones, up in the commentary box. Bruce?
You're way too kind, Claire. Thank you very much indeed. Great to have you back. And yes, that's a factor people don't understand if they're not in this part of the world. The sheer heat that comes up through your feet off the grid. So think what it's like for the cars as they sit there. They need to get moving. And Claire will catch up with some of the front runners down on the grid. But I think Benjamin Franicevici, what a pat on the back he deserves. Because I'm sure plan A, plan B, plan C, D, etc. Work your way through the alphabet probably went out the window. He's worked so hard to get it going. And I think the response, particularly from the Japanese teams, of course the Chinese teams can't come and play because of all sorts of restrictions, but we will be back, we will be stronger. But look, we've got 8 cars here, but they're all top quality cars, and we're going to more than treble that in Japan. That's great to hear. Benjamin saying 25 cars or more for the first of the Japanese rounds at Suzuka in the middle of July. So that is great to see. Right now we've got that wonderful moment where you start to see the cars in their beauty as people are asked to clear off the grid. It's hot, it's sticky, it's humid down there, but you can be sure for the 8 drivers in the cockpits and their 8 teammates, they have got something to prove today, and then they'll have to do it all to do again tomorrow. But let's go down because Claire has been busy and she's very quickly managed to catch up down the grid with Adrian Silva from the number 11 Earl Bamber Motorsport Porsche.
Adrian, you look like you had quite a comfortable ride here in the Porsche GT3R. Tell me, I mean, this is the car of choice for you, isn't it?
Yeah, Claire, you know I've been driving the Porsches for many, many years. Okay, you've seen me on the track so many times. Yes, I'm very comfortable with this. Not so comfortable with the heat, but yes, and this is the home track, of course. I'm comfortable with my home track as well.
How do you feel about your competition over there? We've got the Japanese in the silver car.
Yeah, the Japanese, they're in the Silver Cup, which is a different category. We are at Pro-Am, but nevertheless, we are still going for the overall T1. So there will be some competition.
Well, fantastic. I'm about to get kicked off. Good luck for the race, and I'll see you on the podium.
Thank you. Bye.
Good vibes for a Malaysian driver racing at home. Thank you very much, Claire, for catching up with Adrian Henry de Silva, and he was only just under a fifth of a second off off pole position, but that went to the aquamarine Ferrari you can see on the left-hand side of the grid. That's the number 27 Ferrari from new team Yogibo Racing, and Yoka Yokomizo was the star in that. He's raced pretty much everything in Japan, a huge amount of GT experience, and great to see a Ferrari not in classic red. I do like that livery. I think it looks fantastic here. But just to reiterate, it's a 1-hour race with a driver change around the mid-distance. And most of these pairings, the driver who's kicking off is less experienced. And certainly in the case of Adrian de Silva, his teammate has won Le Mans not once but twice. He's sharing with Earl Bamber, the man with his name on the lid of the team, Earl Bamber Motorsport. We've also got those 2 fantastic-looking dark blue and silver liveried Mercedes from 888 JMR. With the when we were last racing, we had one prince from Johor. That was Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, and his younger brother, only 21. Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim has gone really, really well. In fact, he outpaced his brother. So there we are. The young one topples the slightly older one. But great to have the royal family from Johor so deeply involved in the racing here. First chance to see some of the cars. The number 91. Audi from Team Xworks. They've got 2 Audis here, and this is being started by David Jun and will be handed over to Sean Thong. So just the 8 cars here, but may I just reiterate the fact we've got some top names in here, and all the top teams are here for now, but they will be augmented and how over the next few rounds when we get to Japan for the start of the Japan Cup element of Fanatec GT for 2022. We are back on the road. We're about to go racing. We do the formation lap, then the cars will come round. We'll have that mandatory pit stop between 25 and 35 minutes into this race. So I think we're all set. The officials are up there ready to just flag the cars off on their formation lap. So fingers crossed, let's hope for a nice clean launch to 2022. So Ferrari on pole position from Porsche alongside. Naoki Yokomizo, Japanese racer, gets it going off on the formation lap. He'll be followed by Adrian de Silva, the driver we heard from down on the grid. He's being followed, not in grid order, by his teammate, which is Setia Juan Santoso in the number 8 Porsche, but the first of those dark blue Mercedes, as mentioned, has got Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, the 21-year-old prince from Johor. He's starting in 99. Sorry, he's in 88, 888. swap those around. Earlier in the season it was going to be the other way around, but we've got the 2 dark blue cars. But the pole starting one, will it lead the whole way through to the pit stops when they arrive? On pole by 0.182 of a second, so not a whole lot, but then the third car, one with Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, number 888, is actually a whole second back. So those first 2, but it was very quick fire qualifying, only 15 minutes. Yes, the cars were out on track yesterday, but this track is so critical to track temperature. Tyres, of course, really, you can do 1 or 2 quick laps on them, but if you're going to go really, really hard, you need to balance those tyres. So Naoki Yokomitsu on pole in the one and only Ferrari here. That's Yagibo Racing alongside Adrian Silva, local driver on home ground for EBM Giga Racing. His teammate Sietawan Santoso is behind him on the grid in 4th place, but between them is His Highness Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim in the first of those 2 888 JMR Mercedes, with his brother Prince Abdul Rahman Jeffrey Ibrahim in 5th on the grid, and David Pun in one of the 2 Team X-Works Audis. The second one of those is Yasser Shahin, really competitive Australian racer, winner in fact of the GT World Challenge Australia in 2021, and another Australian, Andrew McPherson. If you get used to AWS Motorsport being a Lamborghini, I am, but look up there, it's a red and white Porsche this year. They've swapped over, maybe they've retired the old girl, but maybe it was just because it was racing last weekend down at Bathurst in the 12 hours, but great to be back racing here. So 15 corners, time for people to settle down, focus on what they've got to do ahead. All of them have probably around half an hour of racing. And of course here at Sepang, a circuit famously one of the first from the stable of circuit architect Herman Tilke, has that brilliant run down to the first corner, nice wide entry, plenty of space, but that doubles back immediately into turn 2. Really complicated, but great sequence of corners for overtaking. But these drivers will know being a hero into turn 1 isn't that good if you're a 0 by the time you get to turn 2, particularly with a field of this size. You should have space, you should be able to be racing very near, or at least within touching distance, the racing line at all moments. You shouldn't be crowded out too much, but racers are racers, and the first corner is always a point of interest. So the field is coming up from turn 14. It's a 15-turn circuit, and just waiting to check that all are going to be in 2x2 position for the start when it comes around. The safety car should pull off. Great looking Toyota Supra. We're going to have quite a few of the Toyota Supras in the GT4 class when we go racing in Japan, but an hour of racing is about to start. A rolling start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All the cars are there. It's Naoki Yokomitsu on pole position. Adrian Silva alongside. Looking at the lights on the gantry. They're on red. They're on green. Nice quick early flick, and it's actually caught Adrian Silva out. And into second place goes Prince Abu Bakr. He's tucked in behind Abu Bakr Ibrahim in second place. The 2 EBM Giga Racing Porsches are side by side, but a brilliant start in the number 91 Audi for David Jun. He's moved up into 4th, trying to get into 3rd. He's got the nose in front. Yeah, the Elf Bar livery car up into 3rd place. That was pretty sensational from 6th to 3rd. So great start there. Now, on real race form, you'd expect Naoki Yokomitsu to be setting the pace. Really, you wanted Adrian Silva to be up alongside him. He was only a 5th of a second or slightly less than that behind him in qualifying, but Adrian's now going to have to play catch-up because that was a poor start, and the number 11 Porsche, whoa, we nearly had contact at turn 4, such a tight corner just on the crest of the slope there, but just fortunately pulled out. And so our pole sitter looking very comfortable, and in behind him Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim settling into second place. Adrian Silva will be kicking himself, but now he's got a job to do. 1, 2, 3. He's back in 5th position at the moment. That was a stumble. Just didn't read the lights because they went very quickly from red to green. And certainly the pole man, Naoki Yokomitsu in the Yagibo Racing Ferrari, got it absolutely nailed down. But Adrian Silva, as you can see on the graphic on the top left of the screen, has fallen from 2nd on the grid down to 5th place. And just checking to see how close they are on my circuit map. They're going around turn 11 at the moment. The first 2 have got that good break, but David Pun moved up into that 3rd place from 6th on the grid, and he may start as the others get onto his tail to delay them slightly. And in fact, his teammate Yasser Shahin is tucked in behind him, but some quicker drivers are further back down. They've got themselves shuffled down the grid. Adrian Silva and Jeffrey Ibrahim, so expect them to come through, and certainly Setiawan Santoso in 7th place is far from a snail in a car. He's very quick indeed, and right at the back Andrew McPherson bringing up the rear, but he's new to this Porsche, but he's sticking on the tail of others who know them rather better. So good result on the first lap, only the first lap mind, of this race. Claire Jedrick has made it up into the commentary box. Very hot, nice and cool in here though, isn't it, as the racing action heats up?
Absolutely, I've got to say down there when you were saying it was hot and sweaty and humid. Yeah, it absolutely was. It was sizzling down there, and I think I've missed a little bit of the action, having to leg it up the staircase, and I can't believe that Adrian has dropped into 5th place over there. So, but you know what? He's one of the old boys. He's hardy. He'll pick his way back through. He knows this circuit, like he said. So we can expect Adrian Silva. I hope to see him, back in the top 3 places. But we'll have to see really, because that new young gun there with Abu Abraham. Wow, he seems a bit of a firecracker between the brothers there.
Well, I certainly, if you said to me before I got on the plane to come out here to Malaysia, which of them would be fast, you go, well, of course it'd be Jeffrey. He's got years of experience in the car, and he's had a brilliant teammate in Shane Van Gisbergen, but the young gun doing a good job. He's just down by 1.1 seconds on the opening lap, but really in this first half of the race, Naoki Yokomizo, not only did he take pole, but he looked comfortable doing it. He parked it early in qualifying. Job done. Don't take it out of the tyres. Now this lap, he's starting, just looking at the visual, yeah, that's more than 1.1 seconds. In fact, they're now trying to find... had something coming in the pits, or it's one of the course cars coming back in, but at the moment Abu Bakr Ibrahim is still in that 2nd place, but I think we're going to start to see them shunting up onto his tail, but all along that Yagibo Racing Ferrari is just looking super smooth and pulling away.
Well, that's right. I mean, there is a certain amount of pressure when you're in qualifying, but to have the pressure when in the race, like we saw with Adrian Silva, anything can happen. A bad start is what I assumed happened.
Well, what happened? All the drivers were looking at the 4 red lights on the starting gantry, coming down, but almost every race I've commentated on in the past month or two, they've been quite a long hold. This was super quick. It was suddenly green, and instead of having the first row pulling away as one, it was just the Ferrari going away. Adrian dropped back, and then there were 4 abreast behind. For EBM Giga Racing, they nearly fell to 4th and 5th position, and they're going to have to pick themselves back up. And in fact, they are now, 4th and 5th. They went down to 5th, and 7th? For Setiawan Santoso. Meanwhile, look at the images on the screen. It is a case of just remember the gap at the end of the opening lap, 1.112 seconds. Let's call it 1.1 seconds between friends. The gap between Naoki Yokomizo, he's just started another lap. I reckon it's going to be 2.5 seconds. 2.503, we're close there on 2.5 with my guesstimation. But that is very impressive. But we know they're all going to be doing a stint of 25 minutes to 35 minutes. Most of them will be doing a shorter stint. I would suggest the longest stint will come from the driver leading the race, because Naoki Yokomizo is every bit as good as his teammate, if not faster.
Well, I'm keeping my eyes on Shaheen. As you speak about the front leader over there, I'm looking at Shaheen because I really think he's coming up. He's cut off 0.1 seconds. I feel like he's slipstreaming just behind Pan. He's waiting for that moment to pounce on him as he goes around the turns here at Sepang. And I do think we're going to be a little bit of an upset to go into 3rd position for Shaheen and Pan.
I think that's a good call. I think he's actually, looking at him in qualifying, expected Yasser Shaheen to be making sort of more speed early on, but I think he probably knows other circuits rather better than here. In fact, I probably reckon this is his first outing up here. But no, I don't know. I have to check through the records. But anyhow, he's certainly in race trim far more interested than he was in qualifying, and I think you're right. We will have a swapping of those positions behind us. You see David Pun pushing on very hard indeed, running over the curves. Now, this is something we need to talk about. Track limit. Certainly in European racing, it's been the big story of the past 2 or 3 years. And some drivers perfect it in terms you always have to have a wheel within the white lines, but some drivers do it by the paint on the outside of their wheel. They keep that much within the track. The very fastest GT3 drivers do that. But then a lot of them then get pinged, and all your good work is thrown out the window for shaving off a 50th of a second. You've given yourself a 10-second stop-and-go penalty.
Well, I'd like to see what Adrian Silva is doing, because his Sector 1 was the fastest there. So already you see him picking up some speed. Sector 2, it was all right. He he picked up some pace there, but I wonder if he's on the edge of the paint there for his wheel. But he's still quite far behind there with 1.4 seconds difference. He's got a bit of distance to make up.
Yeah, but I think he's going to catch that run of cars from Abu Bakr Ibrahim, David Pun and Yasser Shaheen, just simply because I think they're all holding each other up. And I think in terms of speed, we know Adrian Silva should be the match. I still get confused looking at AMAC Motorsport and not seeing the shape of a Lamborghini, but great to see that Andrew McPherson, the team owner, and his long-time teammate Ben Porter got a new challenge. And they've been such firm supporters of the championship. They were the AM Championship champions in 2019, probably all ready to do it again in 2020, and then suddenly just didn't happen. There we were in the starters orders for 2020. With that gap, it was 1.1 second, 2.5. It's 3.3 now, so it is going out. But I think the rate of escape is starting to dwindle just a little bit. So second, third, and fourth. Abu Bakr Ibrahim, David Pun, Yasser Shahin, nose to tail. Adrian Silva, he's about 1.5 seconds behind them. I think he's got we know he's got the speed and the potential to catch up. He also knows he's probably doing one of the shorter opening stints, because when you've got Earl Bamber, not just as your team boss, but as double Le Mans winner, ready to take over from you, you're not going to keep him out of the car, are you?
Right, well, exactly. That was the next thing I was going to say, the changeovers. Once the gates of hell break loose and open, are they going to shorten that time that he's going to be in the car, or was he expected to have a bit of a longer run this weekend, Adrian Silva?
I do like that phrase. We always talk about the pit window, but I like the gates of hell, right? The pit window is now
well, it is.
in the bin from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, Earl Bamber, very familiar with this circuit. I mean, he's had a great year, back-to-back racing. And now he's back down in almost his home ground, really, because he used to live here as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. But he's got to, put his shorts and T-shirts away, because as soon as he's finished with this race and tomorrow's, he's going over to complete in the Nürburgring 24 hours. And let me tell you, last year when we were doing that, we lost, I think, more than half the race to fog. You're thinking, my next stint is at 6 in the morning. You get up and, nope, there's not going to be any racing till 9, and that's when I'm coming off. But a lot of drivers, and I'm sure a lot of drivers here, at some point in the future, will either go and compete in the Spa 24 hours because you have to, or the Nürburgring 24 hours because you also have to.
But yes, it's a great weekend for motorsport. I mean, not just for Asia, and of course we've got Barcelona going on this weekend, all the other race series around the world. So it's a very, very exciting weekend for everybody to load up and get on their calendars. And meantime, like we have the Fanatec GT World Challenge back in Sepang, so it's great to see these cars out here at the start. And of course, when the restrictions ease, we are bound to see more of these cars out here.
Oh, we certainly will, and I think in 12 months' time when we come back, presumably to kick off the 2023 season, we will be back to where we were in 2019. And I must say, looking at the highlights we were shown just at the start of the show, I'd forgotten the races here were absolutely brilliant, and Tanat Sathian Thurical was just amazing in 2019. There was nip and tuck, and there was overtaking absolutely everywhere, and we will be back to that. But right now, we're looking at a fabulous escape. He's now 3.8 seconds. He's not galloping away, but with every lap, he's building comfort into the pit stop. He's building, an opportunity for his teammate. And I'm really impressed with Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, because he's held onto that, moved up into second place and third at the start, helped by Adrian Silva not making a great start. But I thought, right, let's see how consistent he can be. There's no problem with consistency. There he is, 3.8 seconds down on Naoki Yokomizu in that Yaghibo Racing Ferrari, but he's comfortably just half a second ahead of David Pun, because David's got his hands full, because he's got Yasser Shahin, his teammate, right behind him, and both of them gradually, by a few tenths here or there, Adrian Silva is playing catch-up. So second, third, fourth will be second, third, fourth and fifth quite soon.
So we've got plenty of time still left on the clock right there, but like exactly what you said, Silva has clocked in some purple sectors, and like you said with the Abu Ibrahim, it's going to be quite interesting. I think we're going to have a chat with Jeffrey Ibrahim as well tomorrow and see what's been going down, but it could be just down to testing. I think Abu Ibrahim, because he's new to the scene, he's probably had a lot more time out on circuit perhaps.
And while you were saying that, Yasser Shahin thought, you know what, I'm tired of running around in fourth place, I'll go to third. So classic overtake into, guess where, turn 15, the final corner of the lap. He'd been hunting him down, and was he trying to go up into second place? But no, not quite. But there we are. It just simply unfortunately for David Pun, just outbraked himself, and you could sense that Yasser Shahin was looking. Maybe he spotted that weakness the previous lap and put the pressure on, but he made the move stick there. Now, so you said he might go to fourth. Well, he's now done that. He's gone to third.
He's gone to third. And I actually thought he was going to do that a little bit earlier, but I guess he waited for his time, and he made a great move. It was an easy move for him, really. Just kind of like you said, the other guy obviously was defending, and probably braked a little too late and went a bit too wide there.
It was interesting, just a few corners later, David Punn tried to get back, but turn 4, slightly uphill, very sharp right-hander, just going over a brow. It's a very hard place to overtake. And if you get your car, when it's slightly unbalanced, out of true, how many drivers have spun out of turn 4? And they've just thrown all their good work out of the way. Now, what can Yasser Shahin do in that number 22 Audi? Actually, it's quite good, because Adrian Silva has now caught the end of that train, but it's a question of, now is David Punn going to be composed in that sort of, looks like a bag of sweets, multi-coloured, I don't, what is Health Bar?
Licorice.
It does look like
a bag of old school licorice.
Licorice all sorts.
From down the street.
Of the day, but is he going to calm down now, because he's had his moment, he tried to fight back, it didn't quite work, and already Yasser Shahin has put about 2/3 of a second on him, but Adrian Silva, second fastest driver in qualifying. I have a sense, looking at the way he's driving the car, he's probably pretty good on his tyres. As I say that, he sort of semi-leaves the circuit, but comes back into the right county. But what we're looking at here is second is the treble 8 Mercedes, driven almost identical lap times, lap after lap. He's going to have to raise his game, because Yasser Shahin is coming through, and he looks slightly faster. But this is all magic. This is absolutely what the doctor ordered for our race leader, Naoki Yokomizo, because, well, we have to wait for the rest to come through to see what the gap's extended to. But as they fight behind him, he's 5 seconds clear of the treble 8 Mercedes. Jeffrey Ibrahim is in the back of that shot in the second of those dark Mercedes, the second of the Porsches in behind him. Setia Juan Santoso shouldn't really be where they are. They made poor starts. However, they haven't managed to work their way up the order, so maybe they are where they should be. And again, this is a feature, Claire, I think, of that short qualifying. 15 minutes isn't a great deal. By the time you've done your out lap, all you need is an incident. So a lot of people just put in a banker lap in qualifying and then didn't do any better, I think, in some ways. But then the stars, like Naoki Yokomizo, did one lap, very, very good. Next one, just a 1/10 of a second down on that. No one within half a second. I'll park it in the garage.
Oh, okay, we're going to see a move there by Jeff Abraham, but what is going on?
I'm beginning to wonder if there's been a little bit of contact. Because I said maybe he's lost his mojo for a bit, has to get it back, a little bit rattled, having been passed by Yasser Shahin. I'm just wondering if he's got a slight slow puncher there, because that was a very easy move for Prince Jeffrey getting past him. There was no resistance. It looked as though the Audi just wouldn't go where David Punn wanted it. So we really need to get an image of that. We'll have to wait quite a while. He's fallen way down the order. Here's second place, the treble 8 Mercedes, Prince
and hopefully
Abu Bakr. He looks sort of quite comfortable still, but Sam Shahin is getting closer, isn't he? It's not just my eyes.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think, I'm not quite sure if he's, if it's a slow puncture, you want to be able to hang on. I mean, when do the gates actually open?
Gates of hell, I so love that.
I love saying at the gate.
Well, they open up between 25 and 35 minutes into the race. So when we get to 35 left on the clock is when they open.
Well, he's not going to have enough time if it is a slow
but I'm
puncher.
just trying to see what his lap time is, because no, he hasn't dropped.
Well, on there he's gone into 7th place. It's just we're just waiting for the bit of a lag and update there, because we still have like false on the screen, but that's all right there.
Right, he's stone last, so is he coming into the pits? Well, Mercedes is coming into the pits.
Yeah, so that would be Abu Ibrahim. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there, why he's coming.
Okay, well, I'll just throw something out there. After one of the sessions, it said Triple 8 to come to see race officials, race stewards, but I think that was after the second session. I think that was Jasmine Jafar who was at the time. So why has Prince Abu Bakr, you want to nip down the pit lane?
That could be a good question. I can go and see
but he didn't have any trouble. His previous lap was down by about 1/3 of his second on those before, but I thought that's all right. He's used his tyres and that's not good. Straight into the garage. Now, okay, so that is not a normal pit stop. This is something untoward. By going in the garage, more mechanics can work on it than if it's still in the pit apron. But, well, that's a surprise, because his pace hadn't really dropped away. So, right, let's just revise the race order. Naoki Yokomizo clear by 6.5 seconds. Second place, Sam Shahin in the number 22. Yes, Shahin in the number 22 Audi with the Bend Motorsport, his circuit writ large upon it, and he's got nearly the same margin back to third place, a 5-second margin to Adrian Silva. Started second, fell to 5th, up to 3rd. Now clear line of sight for Yasser Shahin. Oh, Silva's got attention though, because Jeffrey Ibrahim has now moved on to his tail. So one of the Mercedes drops back for Triple 8 JMR, and another one starts to just find its sweet spot, start to move up, and then It'd be really interesting if a camera can get down into the pit garage to see what they're doing. Oh, and David Punn hasn't made it back to the pits. He had whatever the problem was. We didn't know. We wondered if he could get it, if it was a slow puncture as far as the pit window opening, but has pulled at the side of the circuit. So Sean Thong may not be getting a race after all today. Have another chance tomorrow with his own qualifying position. So suddenly, in the blink of an eye, 8 has become 6. And Claire is going to possibly go on down and find out what is happening down there. Thanks very much. So, well, most extraordinary. I mean, we understood there was something wrong with David Punn's Audi. That's the number 91 car. But the 888 Mercedes back into the race after its pit stop. So whatever that wasn't a standard pit stop, but something has been fixed. And the driver who was running second is back out onto the track. Will be last, but that means 7th, because really last is the car that's parked at the edge of the circuit. David Punn, the 91. Elfbar Racing Team X-Works Audi out with a malaise. We couldn't see what it was, but certainly the car had slowed on its previous lap. So there it is, down in 7th position. Jasmine Jafar hopefully will get to take part in the second part of the race, and whatever the problem was, see what its lap speed is. It must have been fairly easily fixed, because the car hadn't been in the garage probably even a minute before it came back out. And Jeffrey Ibrahim has just moved past Adrian De Silva, and the second of those World Bamba Motorsport Porsches is on the move and onto his tail. Cesiwan Santoso is getting up. So drivers in this race, they make their way forward, didn't have a problem, they're falling back. No problems at all from the Yoki Yokomitsu. 7 seconds clear of Yasser Shahin. Suddenly a change in behind, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Jeffrey Ibrahim to the front of the queue. Adrian De Silva, who started 2nd, fell to 5th, worked his way back up to 3rd, is now down to 4th, and his own teammate Setiwan Tozo nearly pushing him around the circuit. Through turn 10 they go. Just turning to the right through 10. Up to the crest of the rise, and a slightly sharper right-hander at 11, then down the slope to 12, and Setiwan Santoso in number 8 got very, very close indeed to the tail of his teammate. And in fact, if anything, this is but Jeffrey Ibrahim, it's like he's just found his form. He's just started to stretch his legs. His lap pace is pretty strong and solid. I'd suggest these two Porsches slightly holding themselves up. But of course, in 5.5 minutes' time, the pit window open, and the drivers could start changing. They've got 10 minutes between the pit window opening and it closing, in which they must enter the pit lane. They can enter it just as it's about to close, but as long as they're in before it does. Invisible gates of hell. Right, 1st to 2nd, Yoki Yokomitsu, the Yogibo Racing Ferrari, 7.7 seconds to good. Another lap in which he's gained best part of 2/3 of a second over Yasser Shahin, but Yasser in turn is outpacing those behind-ish, not by a lot. So hopefully Claire will let us know when she can find out. Quite a long walk down the pit lane from the commentary box, and the pit garage is right at pit exit end, so it'll be a long hop shuffle down there. Find out what happened to the 888 Mercedes, which is back in the race, and if anyone at Team X-Works can say what happened to 91 to David Punn's car. So we'll find out what happened to the 91 Audi, even if it's just a question and answer, but clearly it suddenly slowed, having run really, really well in the race. It was passed by teammate Yasser Shah, and he's running in 2nd place now. And David Punn went down the order. 3rd, became 4th, became 5th, became parked at the side of the circuit. And I'm just checking out the lap times, and 2nd fastest driver on the track, 3rd fastest driver on the track is the driver at the back of the pack. Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim, 21-year-old, Prince of Johor, and looking smooth, looking quick. But unfortunately, that call into the pit garage has really, really hurt him. Hurt his chances, but of course with 8 cars in this field, which is the starter point. There are points for everybody today, so must gather as many as he can, but he's almost going to be a lap down, because there is the race-leading Ferrari, Yoki Yokomitsu. and he's just able to lap just that bit faster than everyone else consistently. He was pulling away quite a lot, and then a little bit less, then a little bit less, but right now he's comfortable. And what's the gap going to be? Is there going to be any gain from Yasser Shine? Car 22, that's Shine crossing is 7.4. In fact, gained a little bit that time. The gap slightly coming down, but then third, fourth and fifth, Jeffrey Ibrahim. It's still Adrian De Silva, number 11 Porsche, and right behind the team sister car, Setia Wan Santosa, the driver from Indonesia. His is the one with the red flag. He looks from a long way back a lot of the time. I'd be feeling slightly disconcerted if I was Adrian De Silva, because a lot of these moves have sort of been looked at quite seriously from a point at which they're not likely to work. So maybe, even though he's probably got his, well, he definitely have his suit on, his helmet on, I would think as well, because I think Earl Bamber will be about to take over from Adrian De Silva in a few minutes when the pit window opens. He wants to be sure he's going to get a car, because the sister car, number 8, is pushing it very, very hard indeed. Doesn't the Sepang circuit have just such a fantastic flow? They run through turns 5, 6, down that little stubby short straight to turn 7, just about to turn in now, the two Porsches nose to tail for EBM Giga Racing, and then 7 becomes 8, De Silva running wide again, and there wasn't a gap, but even though there wasn't a gap, you could see darker nosed Porsche giving chase, the one with the red top to its wing. It's just constantly looking, trying to unsettle Adrian De Silva. Adrian De Silva had it covered into there, but he's not going to have a minute's rest. I'll just point out that Setia Wan Santosa will hand over to Kiwi racer Reid Harker, and Adrian De Silva will hand over to double Le Mans winner, Porsche man through and through, Earl Bamber. But while they fight, Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim pulling away in third place, getting more and more comfortable by the lap. On his own, much as is the race leader, because Ryoki Yokomitsu, another lap, just comfortably in the 2-minute 11s. And the margin comes down a little bit more by a quarter of a second. Oh, and De Silva through the final corner, having to really chop across the bows of the sister car for Setia Wan Santosa. So 4th and 5th for EBM Giga Racing with their Porsches. And I suppose De Silva must be thinking, you know, oh, looked so he sort of had it covered. It didn't look as though there was going to be any move from Santosa. Then Santosa's going to start diving up the inside. So you can see Adrian De Silva. Oh, and Santosa's gone for a spin. So suddenly the pressure is off, which actually is going to preclude what I thought might be becoming a problem, because of these two cars, the full season entry is the number 8. So you really want to make sure that one goes on and gets all the points it should. But that little rotation has certainly delayed Setia Wan Santosa. He's got going all over again. Now, how much of a margin would that give him? Well, he was 18 seconds clear of the number 51 AWS Motorsport Porsche, and now with the spin and the recovery, that will be considerably less. So through turn 6 goes the 8 Porsche, but that was a setback. The pressure was on. Let's take a look at the replay. Diving up the inside. Oh, I didn't really mean to leave the door open. You could just see Adrian De Silva could hardly get his Porsche, the number 11, to turn in, and it was a real squirrely moment there. It won't have done either of their tyres, sets of tyres, any good indeed. And then just clipping the inside on turn 2, because the track drops into the corner there, and just slightly unweighted, round it came. Luckily no one else was behind, so immediately behind, so no damage done there. But the pit window has been open, so I didn't notice. Almost an entire minute now. Yes, an entire minute. Waiting to see who will be the pit callers. And I sort of rather expect the majority of these drivers will come in relatively early in this, because all of them know that pretty much all of them, with the exception possibly Ryoki Yokomitsu as their teammate, ought to be capable of faster times. The one driver who's not going to get a chance to do that will be Sean Thong, driver from Hong Kong. Very staunch supporter of this championship. And we've got a pit visitor, and the first one to come in is Yasser Shaheen. So car 22 is in, and that means his teammate, the Thai racer Sandy Stuvik, will take over. So let's just remember the order before the flurry of pit stops started. easy leader by, well, many seconds. In fact, pretty much, I said they'd come in all as pretty much as soon as they could. But Yokomizo goes around for another lap. Then the 22 Audi in from second place, the 99 Mercedes in from third place, the number 11 Porsche in from fourth with the pressure off it. And then Santoso follows as well, and then McPherson. And that leaves Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim probably coming in at the end of this lap, but he was the one who had the extra pit stop already, so he's pretty much got the track to himself. In fact, he is one of only 2 cars on the track at the moment as this flurry of pit stops, because the race leader Naoki Yokomizo going around for a further lap. I think he will come in within about 10 minutes, just pretty late within the pit window. But the rest, line astern in the pit lane. Driver 1, hot, bothered and getting out. Driver 2, warm, about to be bothered and getting in. But just remember that that advantage between first and second was a dozen seconds comfortably, but it had been coming down because the number 22 Audi, Yasser Shahin, hunting down all the time. A few tenths here or there. First one of those cars into the pits ought to be the first to leave, and so it is. And the 99 Mercedes, Jeffrey Ibrahim, will have handed that over to Australian racer Nick Foster, former Porsche champion back down under. Actually quite a while ago now. 2015 he was the Australian Porsche champion, but been around the world ever since then, competing in the World Endurance Championship, Blancpain Asia Series, Blancpain European Series. These days we call them all Fanatec GT with the various championships. And out on the circuit, Prince Abu Bakr is holding off the race leader Naoki Yokomizo, albeit a lap down. He's not losing a tiny bit in terms of ultimate pace to the Ferrari from Yagibo Racing, but he will come in soon, or soon enough it should be said. So that pit window is still open for another 6 minutes and small change. Then he'll hand over to Jasmine Jafar, who knows the circuit so well, from just down the road in Kuala Lumpur, and been racing all over the world, not just in single-seaters but also prototypes and more recently GTs. I think more and more we're going to see Jasmine Jafar back with a full racing programme. Out on the circuit though, suddenly Nick Foster in the 99 Mercedes is going to right onto the tail of Sandy Stuvik. In terms of experience, you'd put the balance to be tipped Nick's way, but he's got to get his way past. And Sandy knows his circuit pretty well, so he's keeping that black Audi just in front. But Nick Foster is he's on the charge. Well, he made that look very easy indeed, but may I say Sandy Stuvik also was quite sensible there, not wanting to push too hard straight out of his pit stop, just get the feel for the car. But Nick Foster decided, I've got the feel of the car, I've driven the circuit, I've driven the car, let's press on. And then suddenly the number 8 Porsche, now in the hands of Reid Harker, was getting busy and going past the Ferrari, but Yokomizo should be coming into his pit stop, but he was suddenly travelling a little bit more slowly there. That was interesting. Don't tell me we've got a problem for our race leader. No, first sector time seems sort of okay. Or was that him about to peel off and go into the pits? But suddenly, you know, on the out lap, just looking for, no, it's right, I'll just come back to those split intervals in a second, but on the out lap, right, Nick Foster, listed as 1 minute 49 seconds down on the race leader Yokomizo, but that isn't a problem. That's because they've served their pit stops and tucked in behind Sandy Stuvik. So he came out in second place, has fallen back to third. Then in the background of the shot should be Earl Bamber. When your timing screen goes pink, purple some call it, that means you have set the fastest sector time of anybody. And here comes the race leader into the pits. That was a very, very good stint from Naoki Yokomizo, and then Shogo Mitsuyama will take over. And as I said, that would be towards the end of the pit window. He could have done another lap or two, and also the 888 Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim in as well. But he is almost entire lap down after that visit to the pit garage. So haven't found out as yet what it was that brought him in off from that second position. Anyhow, they'll leave together. There'll be the gap of just that lap that was lost between them. Then I suppose that's the sort of target for Yasmin Jafar. Might as well go out and play and get some pleasure from attempting to pass the Ferrari. But that is our race leader. Let's hope there are no fingers and thumbs moment down for the Yagibo Racing crew. And I must say, early this morning, AWS Motorsport were out practicing. They know how to do a pit stop. They've done many years, but of course it's slightly different with a different car. This is their different car. Lamborghini for years, one of the Huracans, really enjoyed their time with it, won the AM Championship of GT World Challenge Asia back in 2019. But this year, just this year, the Porsche is coming, and they're getting experience of it here. Whether they race it for the rest of the season, I don't know. I haven't had a chance to catch up, but Ben Porter on board at the moment. He's got the tail wagging on that nicely. Seems under control there. I think we're starting to see some very quick times are coming because Earl Bamber's flying around the circuit. Reed Harker's going even faster. That's in the sister car, the number 8 Porsche. Oh, and a new fastest lap of the race. Nick Foster up into that second place in the 99. Mercedes took no time at all in getting past the black, and this is the number 22 Audi we're looking at right now on our screens, and Sandy Stubik in that. Well, his lap time was good, but it was a 2:09, but the tyre racer was 1.5 seconds, 1.6 seconds slower on that lap than Nick Foster. That was a stunning lap from Foster, but you know what? Immediately beaten by Earl Bamber. He was another 0.2 of a second faster, and he was bettered by Reed Harker. I thought Reed looked really, really quick when he came out of the number 8 Porsche. Always expected the second half of the race to have the quicker times. We've got the majority of the senior drivers, and the senior in terms of driving experience, not in terms of the number of candles on their cake. Right, let us see next time around what the gap is going to be between Shogo Mitsuyama. We're looking at him here in the Ferrari from Yigibo Racing that led the first half of the race comfortably from the brilliant efforts of pole starter Naoki Yokomitsu. And the true gap will be measured, and well, we'll see what sort of pace Mitsuyama can get up to. In one sense, it's not quite so sparkling. Yes, maybe a little bit of caution. He had that advantage that was comfortably a dozen seconds and more, so he can afford to just be a little cautious in getting heat into tyres. But the ease with which Ben Porter has got onto his tail and is immediately challenging him, slightly worry for the potential of Yigibo Racing winning this race. Pit window is about to close, and all the drivers who need to come in have come in, so we don't have to worry about that. But then we're going to have 25 minutes remaining. Oh yes, definitely the Ferrari's not looking so nimble in Shogo Mitsuyama's hands. Or let's flip it around the other way. Maybe Ben Porter's just looking really, really impressive in the AWS Motorsport Porsche. He certainly seems to be taking to it and driving it in a way that one didn't really see with the Lamborghini, but then different cars to suit different personalities and different driving styles. And Shogo Mitsuyama's looking as though he's fairly doughty in his defence, but he's going to have to be because certainly being pushed very hard indeed. Right, we wanted to know what the gap was. Well, the Ferrari is only just in front, waiting for the cars to cross the start-finish line, but well, the Porsche's gone up the inside. That doesn't matter. There should be a lap between those two cars. But the Ferrari's always had very, very good straight line speed, beaten out of the corner, but yet accelerates past down the start-finish straight. So coming on down, but Nick Foster in the lead of the race. The Ferrari's just had a really, really slow pit stop, and is now it's lap pace now. Hold on, let's have a look. Perhaps it's out lap. We have to see its pace next time around, but its sector times are way, way down. So I think we can almost strike the order there. Faster pit stops have put Nick Foster. Well, it didn't put him into the lead. He came out in second place, but he got past Sandy Stubik. That's become the lead. Earl Bamber has moved up the order with those stunning laps. Reed Harker is going faster than anybody else. His last lap, 2 minutes 7.165 seconds, was the fastest lot. That's the replay. And look, the Porsche's ahead going out of the corner, but wait for it, and the Ferrari just gets going so much better. The Porsche wasn't out of shape, but I don't really understand how that happened. But the Ferrari, you look at them, you can just see it's lower, wider, sleeker, and lighter. Both of them slightly lighter. Certainly one of the cars has done that thing that drivers don't like to do: A, touch another car, but B, leave sharp bits of bodywork on the start-finish straight. Hopefully people can see them. Hopefully the marshals will be able to flag that up and let the drivers at least know they're there. But that pit stop for the Ferrari crew was so comprehensively slow that combine it with the lack of pace at the moment on this outlap. It's tumbled down the order. I did at least expect it to go in the lead and come out in the lead, but it went in the lead, has come out down the order. So Nick Foster leading the way by 6.2 seconds. He's gained almost a second and a half over Earl Bamber last time around. So it's Mercedes, Nick Foster, Porsche, Earl Bamber, Audi, 3 manufacturers in the top 3 positions. Sandy Stuvik now starting to really get going a bit, but Reid Harker is catching him. He's got quite a margin, he's got about a dozen seconds, but in terms of pace, last time around, Reid Harker in 4th place. Get this, 3.6, 3 2/3 seconds faster than the car he's hunting down. That is massive. Jazeman Jafar, of course, the treble 8 Mercedes, running last of those that are running, is down in 7th position with David Punt's 91 Audi parked at the side of the circuit. He's also lapping very quickly indeed, down in 7th. He's a long way down after that extra pit call, but a bit of pride certainly is being shown. Earl Bamber, though, let's have a look at the sector times. Wow, he just put his fastest first sector. The lap's split into 3 sectors. The first one takes you around to just the turning point to turn number 7. The second time split is at turn 13, the sort of arcing right-hander that takes the cars to that tight right-hander that goes onto the back straight. Well, Bamber's certainly clouting the curbs and making the shortest line around as the racing route around the circuit. Now, what can he do? He's got to gain 6 and a bit seconds on the car in front of him. The car being driven by Nick Foster, the 99 Mercedes, and you know what? In Sector 1, Sector 2, he's taken small margins of a second out of the pair of them, but going very well indeed. But it was an interesting moment in the pit lane. Now let's have a look at the Vmax speeds provided by Race Vision, powered by AWS, and that we saw the straight line speed of the Ferrari, 150.4 miles per hour. So that's a tiny little advantage, and down the 2 long straights from turn 14 to the final corner, and then the one we're looking at now from turn 15 down to the first corner. If you've got straight line speed, it is your friend. Now, Claire, when you nipped downstairs, that was just as the treble 8 Mercedes came out from its pit stop. No, it's garage visit. Did you find the chance why it came in for that extra visit?
Well, we're talking about
Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr. So we don't know what happened with him. I had a talk with Jazeman Jafar just before he hopped in the car, and he says he has no idea why he came in. So we didn't have time to interview him because he's about to jump out. But I did get to talk to Adrian Silva. And I was like, hello, mate, what happened? Was it a bad start? And he was like, yeah, bad start. And he said he got forced out onto the outside of the track, which is dirty. In his view, we don't know if he got forced out or whatever happened, the forces. And he says, you know, dirty tyres, it takes 1 lap to get rid of that. And he said, yeah, and then he just kind of had to plug away from that. And Pun, it's because he had contact with Pun. And so right now Bamber is driving with the steering wheel that's going to be off center right now, because his front right, he said basically, Adrian Silva, his front right tire is turned inwards. I don't know if it's toe in, toe out. I can't remember which one he said, but yeah, that's probably likely what happened. Maybe Pun did have a slow puncture.
Well, clearly, whatever the damage was, it was enough not to get him back. So side on. I mean, we could see in that battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, it was getting very, very close indeed. Well done for getting that. But right now, what we're seeing is Nick Foster was really positive after his pit stops. Got out, immediately demoted Sandy Stuvik. Earl Bamber's come through as well. Steering wheel like that, no doubt, to one side. But the mystery was the very slow pit stop for the Gibo Racing Ferrari. Now, one thing I was saying before the start of the race, the experienced teams, they know how to do this, but for AMAC Motorsport, they're out on the apron because they're getting used to it with a different car, not a Lamborghini, how to get, you know, drivers in and out of a Porsche. But maybe there was a fumble, but certainly the lap times now from Shogo Mitsuyama, just, they're not a patch on the ones that are being performed relentlessly by...
Right. It could be a new team, I guess.
So yeah, and we'll see tomorrow, of course, the drivers who start today will be taking over tomorrow, and the drivers who started second today will start tomorrow. So, but ever since he's been out on the circuit, Shogo Mitsuyama has had the company, and often being attacked by Ben Porter. It's a good little scrap, but they're lapping about 2 seconds off the ultimate pace. So that, in fact, that's showing the progress that Ben Porter's making with the Porsche, but unfortunately it's showing just the difference between the two drivers in the Ferrari crew. But great to have that mix of cars and to have the Ferrari down here. Wherever you go racing in the world, a Ferrari is always a popular car to have in the mix, and certainly that's one of the beauties of GT3 racing, that they all get balanced according to their performance. And when we go racing subsequently, when we go to Suzuka, we'll have McLarens in the mix, BMW M4s, Honda NSXs, Lamborghini Huracans, Aston Martin Vantages. So suddenly you've got, you know, the whole flavour of global GT3 racing out on display.
It's going to be fantastic in Japan. We know how they are with their racing. They're very pernickety with that, and they love their cars out there. I always love going to Japan. It's such a fantastic place. The food, people,
the support, the level of support. One time we were both at Fuji, the biggest noise of the weekend was for one of the support races, and all the car clubs and each of the cars, maybe a group of cars, had their flags and they had their own anthems, and I thought, what is going on? And I went out and I thought, that is just magnificent, and great circuits to race on. I find it quite interesting that the driver born in Brisbane, Nick Foster, leading the race. That's not interesting, but I noticed he's got a British flag next to his name, and unless he's sold his soul, he might have a British racing licence. It often gets confused according to, you know, where their licence comes from. But look at the mixture. So we've got actually Australian, Kiwi, and New Zealander. That's Earl Bamber in second place. Andy Stuvik from Thailand. Reid Harker, another driver from New Zealand, at the moment still in fifth place. Japanese driver Shogo Mitsuyama, Ben Porter, another Australian, and Jazam Jafar. Not his fault that the 888 Mercedes is down in seventh place, so the last of the runners. But you know, he's out on the track and he's lapping as fast, if not faster, than the front runners at the moment. So what if they can do it all again tomorrow?
Tell you what, Stuvik though, I watched him as he left the pits, and what a wheel spin! I don't think he had the footage there. You might have, but that wheel spin going out, I was like, whoa! Yeah, he got the car slightly sideways just to go off. He was rearing to go.
But that's interesting because, of course, that was the first of the front runners to come in from second place, and everyone else behind came in from the train. It was essential they stayed at the front of that train, but not long after he got onto the circuit, after his show of fireworks and getting away, he was passed by Nick Foster. Nick Foster was just super quickly onto the ultimate pace, has been lapping very consistently. The gap is starting to come down because Earl Bamber is hunting him. The Mercedes, the 99 Mercedes, is being hunted down by the number 11 Porsche, the sister car to the one we're looking at the moment. That's got Reid Harker on board, the owner, if you will, of the fastest lap of the race. He's gradually hunting down Sandy Stuvik. It was about a dozen seconds. It's down to 6 seconds now and falling all along. So Reid Harker, you know, to me, he's been the star of the race so far. But as Adrian Silva said to you, that after the contact with David Punn's Audi, the steering ain't exactly as it would be desired for Earl Bamber.
Absolutely, it's a bit of a struggle race for Bamber, especially when the tyres start going towards the last 5 minutes. Well, we've got 6 laps. You think we got in 6-7 laps to the finish line? It's going to be interesting. I think the fight recently of Foster Bamber, as well as just now you were talking about with in between Harker and Stuvik. I think it's going to come down very tight to those runners there.
Well, it is, because Harker's lapping on average about 2 seconds a lap faster, if not slightly more, on Sandy Stuvik. So you did the maths, and right, just been told the Ferrari was stationary for 216 seconds. Let's call that 3 minutes 36 seconds among friends, and it should be about 2 minutes 15. So that is why, you know, you can't in a race as competitive as this shed 40 seconds. In fact, if my maths was better than that, I'd say it was more than 40 seconds. In fact, it's more than a minute. It's about a minute and a quarter.
So that's a big loss for that team.
Huge loss, because it should have come out easily in the lead of the race. And whatever the pace of Shogo Mitsuyama, the others would have hunted him down. But, you know, the damage was already done. In fact, he's just set that car's fastest lap. He's now settled down and getting it going. But
so Porter is catching. He's just got 3.7 seconds now.
Yeah, no, Porter's been really working it hard. Porter needs to get up from 6th into 4th place. Then all the top 4 drivers have surnames that ended with ER. Foster, Bamber, Harker. I've never had said that before.
Must be something from the region where they came from.
Yes.
The Australasia region.
Yeah. So, let's see the lap time. Yeah, no, lap times are Ben Porter doing a good job there. AMAC Motorsport
Stuve
Porsche
can pit.
looking very comfortable indeed. Right, now 5.2 seconds is the gap between our race leader, the 99 Mercedes, one of the two Mercedes from 888 JMR, and that is the one driven by Nick Foster. So it's Jeffrey Ibrahim, who was running in about 6th place, but gradually worked his way forward and suddenly looked really good before the pit stops. Suddenly that car is into the lead of the race. There it is, and there's the margin back to the on screen. Earl Bamber looks so he's gained a little bit more time on this lap, but really we're trading tenths of a second. Yeah, it's a long shot down from turn 15 down that back straight, and
I love that view. It makes everything look like it's condensed up.
oh, totally. yeah, really foreshortened in terms of view. But so let's remember, it's 5.2 seconds between first, that's Nick Foster, and second, Earl Bamber. I don't think there's much change now, 5.1 seconds. And at that rate of closure, it's not going to happen for a change for the lead. But there has been some debris on the track. We had contact while you were coming back up here, but since then I don't think anyone's managed to, or hopefully nobody's managed to hit the little shards on the start-finish straight.
But not a great weekend for the Audis. But of course we'll get all the juice a little later on in the day. Perhaps tomorrow we can get some more of the interviews with the drivers.
Yes, Yasser Shah had got his going, but I mean they were starting from way down the order. They were 6th and 7th out of the 10 runners, and it's a bit of a hard ask. But the interesting thing was they looked better and better on their tyres, but then suddenly, of course, we lost one of the Audis, so we couldn't compare that one. But certainly Yasser Shah looked so he understood how to get the best out of his tyres and worked his way up to pace through the session, through his stint in the race. Worked his way up to 2nd place as well, and that was very handy indeed. And of course, suddenly that's put the car right in the mix. But now it's fallen back down. Sandy Stuvik is in the pits.
Yeah, he's been in the pits for a while
Has
now.
he? Sorry, I just looked out the window. I was so concentrating on people whose surnames ended in ER. I missed that.
Yeah, he's been in the pits for the last couple of minutes.
So he
now,
has.
actually.
Yeah, he's a lap down. Yeah.
Yeah, so hence saying not good luck with the Audis this weekend.
Yes.
But yep, it looks like things have pretty much settled down. I'm not quite sure Bamber's going to be able to make it.
No, and I think the only likely change we were going to see was if Ben Porter could keep that attack going to catch up with the Ferrari, but there's now nearly 5 seconds between them, and their lap pace is...
Yeah, he hasn't made much of a difference in the last 2 laps, going from 5.3 to 4.8. It's not enough. Yeah,
it was closer before, and then the Ferrari pulled away, and now he's starting to come back. And Yasemin Jafar is still at the tail of those that are running, but he's lapping as fast as the race leaders. He's down in 6th place overall, so but for that surprise pit visit, maybe just got lonely in the car. Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim came into the pit garage, and the 888 went out just under a lap later, but you know, when you fall down that much, you're not likely to gain those places back at all. Shogo Mitsuyama is now just starting to pick up his pace. I think he's just, just gaining experience of this circuit and a feel for the car, and maybe he was cautious after the pit stop, because certainly Naoki Yokomitsu led away from pole, comfortable. You can see the Ferrari moving around a fair bit there, Claire. It's at the tighter corners. It doesn't really go where they want. It was the Porsche in the background with Ben Porter much smoother coming onto that back straight out of turn 14.
But Foster hasn't let off the gas. He's still pulling in very good times.
There is nothing between his pace and the pace of the chasing Earl Bamber. I mean, we're dealing in thousandths of a second here. So the gap between first and second is sitting at 5.2 seconds, and I expect it to be very, very similar to that next time around. Only potential place change in this race would be if Ben Porter can have a remarkable handful of laps at the end of the race, because whatever Jasmine Jafar does in the 888 Mercedes, he's too far back to regain position, even though Jasmine is driving, you can see his love of this car and his level of attack. That's as quick as the race leaders. It's a case of what might have been. But tomorrow, he's got every chance. He's starting second on the grid in the 888 Mercedes, and certainly with the pace that Prince Abu Bakr was showing, I would say there's every potential, if they don't go for any extra pit visits, for them to be challenging for the very sharp end of the field. God, Jasmine's driving that really hard on the brakes. He's super late into turn 15.
Yeah, you see the car loaded there. He comes out of that turn, and I really think the journey might be over for Stuvik. I don't think he's coming out of those pits.
No.
Car 22 there in the
Well, that's really unfortunate. If you look at potentially both cars out of the race, both from the same team, both from the Team X-Works Ferraris, Audis. I'm looking at Ferraris, meaning an Audi. So right, first and seconds come down a bit, but only by a tenth of a second. That's all, 5.079 seconds. We are dealing in thousandths. In the background of the shot, Reed Harker, is he closing in? Probably, little by little, but he's another, obviously about 7-8 seconds back. No, another 12 seconds back, I beg your pardon. But yeah, I think we now know our top three order in this race, the first race of the 2022 season. But just remember, if you're going to watch tomorrow, when you watch the drivers who started today will be the drivers who start second. You might think, oh, it'll be fairly similar. No, it won't, when you've got a totally different combination of drivers. And of course the grid order was shuffled, and the car that will be starting on pole position tomorrow will be in the hands of Earl Bamber, who's chasing down the race leader. Now, has there been any change at the top of the Vmax speed trap? And the answer is no. It's still 150.4 miles an hour, fastest car in the field. The Naoki Yokomitsu driven Ferrari as it was then. Now it's driven by Shogyo Mitsuyama, who still is circulating in 4th place. Very similar times really for the rest of them, but you know, that little bit, it was an absolute visual clue down the start-finish straight. It seems to get a bit more punch, and then it's a little bit more aerodynamic than some of the cars around it. And really, when you go into competing in GT3 series, all balanced by SRO in terms of their performance around the world, it's really a question of what car do you want to drive. You know, some people just will only race a Ferrari, but you do need deep pockets for that. And some people are real Aston Martin aficionados, Porsches, Audis, you know, you name it. But people have the cars they really like to do, but they really like to drive. But of course, with their performance being balanced, nobody is a disadvantage, which is why it's so popular. It's why if you go to the Spa 24 Hours in summer, it's chock full with about 60 cars, and I think you have sort of 10 manufacturers in there, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the overall budgets, depending on the manufacturers, is quite crazy. And like you said with the Ferrari, you've got to be able to have the finances for the Ferrari itself. I mean, it's always a favorite with the Porsches. And like you say, Adrian Silva has been racing, you know, probably 2 decades. He's a die-hard Porsche fan, and some of them, you know, and it's not an easy car to drive either.
And that's why the Mercedes has been so popular, because of those. Maybe in some ways it doesn't look quite as sporting. It seems a bit bigger than the others, but it was
like
designed.
More planted.
Yeah, it was designed to be planted and to be good, not just with the Pro driver, but with the AM. And since Pro-Am is the very tenet of GT3 racing, that is absolutely crucial, because the trickier the car, the bigger the differential will be between the drivers.
As we speak, we see there. 99. Foster in the last 5.5 minutes of this race. 4.621 seconds separating him and Bamber. But I think, like you said, unless something remarkable happens, we never say never, ever, do we, in racing?
No, absolutely never can. I mean, I think the ultimate example of that was a handful of years ago, where Toyota had its win coming to it at Le Mans and didn't come round on the final lap. The penultimate lap, we thought, sorry, what's going on here? But at that point, you're sort of packing up your notebook, running out of the commentary box, and then
it was over.
Heartbreak, because there have been some of the star performances in the race. Anthony Davis in particular was just remarkable in that car. Great to see it, you know, we go on to do other things, but when success is just there in the big one, in any race, but frankly, particularly if you've done a 24-hour race, when you win or lose, the emotions are there at the end, because you're just so exhausted. And
I remember the cameras on the faces of the people. There were tears of absolute, like, they were distraught.
Well, when I was working with Radio Le Mans, went up on the pit wall, and one of my colleagues spoke to one of the guys at Toyota. He just told us exactly straight what it was, and just couldn't believe himself what the problem was. How did that happen? But hey. And so that goes back to, it's not over till it's over, but it's looking, though the gap was 5 and a bit seconds, 5.2, 5.1, 5.0, the chasing number 11 Porsche, there it is in shot, is not really getting any closer. 4.6 seconds down, identical lap time to the race leader last time around. So Nick Foster's got the job done, surely, with just under 4 minutes remaining. Really quick out of the pits when he took over, and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim down in the pits will be very pleased indeed, because it looks as though he's starting off on home ground with victory, getting the 22 championship up and running. And after 2020 and 2021 didn't happen, it's all the sweeter to be out on the circuit and he's kept it smooth, kept it clean. I think they both worked their tyres very well indeed, but Nick Foster was mighty on his outlap, really deposed very quickly Sandy Stuvik. Sandy's car unfortunately came into the pits and has been parked up, well, it's now 5 laps in arrears, so probably not going out again. It's been there for quite some while. Hopefully whatever the problem is, it's something that's fixable. Hopefully whatever stopped the sister car from the X-Works Audi team, hopefully it was just a puncture or something untoward, and nothing that can't be fixed for tomorrow, because we want to have the full quotient of cars. But today the story's been about Ferrari leading away in the opening stage of the race from pole position, helped by Adrian Silva, the outside the front row, having somewhat of a poor start. The lights very quickly went from red to green. I think he was a little bit caught out then by the time he got to the first corner, found himself on the outside line where it's very, very dusty indeed, got dirt on his tyres, it took a while to get it off, but then picked his way up the order. We've had other people coming up and down the order, but the story for the 99 car, it fell as low as 6th in the early running of this 8-car race, the opening race of 2022, picked its way back up the order, and suddenly after a very, very slow pit stop from the Ferrari that was in there for an extra minute and a quarter over its rivals, even being a second and a quarter slower than your rivals in the pit can lead to problems. And I'm just hearing that the problem for the Audis, both of them were steering problems. So the first one for David Punn, we think, was a steering problem, maybe broken steering from contact, because he hit, Adrian De Silva said his car and David Punn collided. Didn't see what the problem was for Sandy Stuvik, but clearly something untoward there as well. So if it's steering problems, as long as they remember to pack some spares, we'll have them back in the race tomorrow, which will be good news. But today's race, with just a minute and a half remaining, is surely going to go the way of Nick Foster. 4.5 seconds the good ahead of Earl Bamber. So it's going to be Mercedes from Porsche, and the second of those EBM Earl Bamber Motorsport Giga Racing Porsches is in third place, with again some good laps being put in by Reid Harker, but he's not going to claw back 13 seconds in the remaining lap. And the last lap board has been shown. So the race leader, Nick Foster, doesn't have much further to go. Circuit here, 5.543 kilometres, 15 turns. There's the sign at the top of the screen, final lap. So, but for a slow pit stop. Well, how's that? The extra time spent in the pits was a minute and a quarter, and Mitsuyama is a minute and 5 seconds in arrears. Doing the maths on that, he ought to still be in the lead of this race, but unfortunately when he came out into 5th place. Others have had problems. That was Sandy Stuvik dropping out. That's why he's moved up the order to 4th. He's been pushed hard by Ben Porter in the AMAC Motorsport Porsche, but that hasn't managed to depose it. And the 99 Mercedes, not far to go now. Nick Foster will be putting a big smile on the face of his teammate, one of the princes of Johor, Prince Abdul Rahman Ibrahim. Races as Jeffrey Ibrahim, and he's only got one more corner for his car to go, because Nick Foster is bringing it home. He's been looking in his mirrors, he's been seeing that little by little Earl Bamber is possibly gaining, but he'll be known from the pits as around 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds. That's perfectly comfortable. So victory, the first one of 2022, Fanatec GT Racing here in Asia for the first time since 2019. Goes to Nick Foster, flashing the lights, second place, 4.4 seconds in arrears. Goes to Earl Bamber, giving chase, and we heard that the steering possibly wasn't totally straight, and the sister car from EBM Giga Racing, the second of those Porsches, takes the checkered flag, and will be another 13 seconds in arrears. But those are our top 3. So it's Mercedes from Porsche, but it's the 99 car that was very quick up to its pit stop, very quick out of its pit stop, and the work was done. And the car that maybe could have won this race, but was leading the first part of the race, but had that very slow pit stop, was started by Naoki Okamitsu and finished by Shogo Mitsuyama in 4th place overall. 5th place, the AMAC Motorsport Porsche, and due to making an extra pit visit about 10 minutes before the pit windows open, the 888, the 888 Mercedes of Yajaman Far, perfectly good pace at the end of the race, but still haven't found out exactly why that came into the pit garage. But that could also have been challenging, if not winning this race, if it had not done that. So many ifs and buts at maybes, but nothing can be taken away from Nick Foster and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. They've drawn the first blood of 2022. The Fanatec GT Asian action is well and truly started. We'll have the pack reshuffled tomorrow. We've got a new grid, and the drivers who started today will start second tomorrow. They'll take over from the pit stops, and those that finish the race, like Nick Foster, will be starting at the sharp end of the grid. But today, first blood to them. Victory by 4.476 seconds. So a very, very tidy run. First from Jeffrey Ibrahim, and then second from Nick Foster. So they'll be hot. It is humid, but they will be happy. It's all the H's. And the 888 Mercedes comes through right now. That's all the cars that started the race that are going to finish have finished. So just to report that the two Team X-Works Audis both hit problems, and apparently allegedly both to do with steering. Sandy Stuvik and David Punn, who parked not long before the pit window opened. And that's both Audis out, but it's Foster, Bamber, Harker, the top three, and we're talking Mercedes, Porsche. And the Ferrari has shown the pace, has shown that it could be a big feature this season, and certainly for both of those drivers, they'll be delighted to be racing back on home ground, but any chance to compete at Sepang should be grabbed, and next year you can be sure we'll have a bumper grid of cars. But and we have the drivers who tend to win the AM section. They were guaranteed victory in that today. They were the only entries in that class, but Ben Porter, who brought it home, and Andrew McPherson, who brought it out there, I think probably really enjoyed that run in the Porsche, getting to know it and try something different from the Lamborghini that they normally guide around the circuits of Southeast Asia. And now entering the pit lane is the race winner, Nick Foster, just ahead of Earl Bamber. Just remember they were 4.5 seconds apart on the circuit, and behind them Reid Harker making it EBM Giga Racing Porsches in second and third. But victory today, the opening round of 2022, goes to 888 JMR, and it's the 99 car that Nick Foster brings to a standstill right under the lofted podium. He drives under the Fanatec GT arch. Job done well, quite a narrow arch. And beside him the grey, white and black Porsches of EBM Giga Racing. But job well done. But you know, if my eyes don't deceive me, it looks though Nick Foster started that car, because he's just gone up to congratulate Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim. So all race we were talking about Nick finishing. Well, I can only apologise. All the screen graphics had them the other way around, but unless Nick is a magician, he's already out. And well, let's find out when they come down to us. But Sepang looking beautiful. Clouds over the circuit, but they've stayed away. The track has stayed dry. The track has stayed true. And smiles all round. Adrian Silva very happy with that second place. Oh no, I have confused myself. It was Nick Foster in the car all along in the second half of the race. I thought, looking at the helmet, that Nick had changed, but he's got the black Pirelli winner's hat cap on, and should be about to tell us all how it happened. But let's go down, because Claire Jedrick is with our race winners. Claire.
Fantastic, guys. Congratulations there for the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. Nick, tell us what was going down. Bit of a shuffle up there. I'm sure victory sweet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of those ones where you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So we'll take that. And, you know, it's credit to Eamon with everything going on. He kept his head, kept it clean, brought it home, and then let me do the rest. Would have been a good battle with Earl, I think, if he didn't have damage. But regardless, yeah, stoked to start the season like this.
And Tusk, what does this mean to you?
It means everything. I mean, always wish of winning here, and especially with Nick and the team, and hopefully we were hoping for 1-2. It wasn't easy for us all weekend, and just to have this, we had our heads down and keep on pushing and never give up till the end, and then, yeah, happy.
Oh, fantastic, guys. Have a good celebration. We've got tomorrow to go on tomorrow. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Claire. And you could just tell from Prince Jeffrey what it means to win at home. There's hugs all round down there, and Nick Foster also very gentlemanly acknowledging the fact that the Earl Bamber car had a little bit of damage, so couldn't hunt them down. It got close, but good racing out there. And for Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, that's the way to start your campaign, not just with a victory, but victory on home ground. So he did that really good first leg, and Nick Foster brought it home. But you should see the smiles down there. Very, very happy camp indeed. And for Earl Bamber, he'll have the slight bittersweet disappointment. On the one hand, it's great that his cars finished in second and third positions, but he really would have liked a victory. But good selection of points for those. Those cars now put away in Parc Fermé. And for those like Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim and Jasmine Jafar, they're putting on a brave face, but that extra visit to the pit garage really cost them. But they know, and as Prince Jeffrey said, they could have had a 1-2 in this race. The pace is good, but setbacks aside, they know they've got two competitive cars for the 2022 season. So let's take a look at those results. Jeffrey Ibrahim started it, Neil Foster finished it off, and Nick Foster, finished it off. And a tidy victory in the end, just under 5 seconds, but Adrian De Silva, Earl Bamber, and Setiawan Santoso and Reid Harker, second and third for EBM Giga Racing with their Porsches. And then the Ferrari, Yagibo Racing, Naoko Yokomitsu started that, Shogo Mitsuyama finished it, but unfortunately a very slow pit stop. Got to get to the foot of why that was so slow, cost them more than a minute, and they're just over a minute down, so they could have been a real factor as well. So bring on tomorrow, we could have 4-5 cars fighting it out at the top. AMAC Motorsport, victory in the AM class. I forgot to point out Yagibo Racing won the Silver Cup class in their 4th place overall, and the second of the 888 JMR Mercedes, the 888 entry with that extra visit to the pit lane, confined themselves to 6th place, but they've got potential race winning pace, that is for sure. And unfortunately for Team X-Works, both of their Audis failed to finish the race with a steering problem for the two of them. So the first of the 2 races for 2022 in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia. Let's take a look at the start, and it was a quick start from the pole starter, or more to the point, the Porsche on the right hand side. Adrian De Silva was slow away, the lights were very quickly flicked from red to green. He was caught out, and they were almost 4 abreast as they ran down to the first corner. And a very good start from third into second went Prince Abu Bakr, and equally David Punn in the multicoloured Audi round the outside of the EBM Giga Porsches into 3rd place. But he was hunted down, and Yasser Shahin was really on the charge. And let's go up the inside into the final corner of the lap. Job done well. David Punn running a little bit wide. I think there'd been a little bit of contact. Maybe his steering was a little bit skewed. Certainly it was on the car that was chasing the number 11 Porsche, as Adrian De Silva fought his way back onto their tail, looking for position. And at this point, David Punn starting to drop back and about to be passed, and it was soon to be parked at the edge of the circuit. In fact, there was even a bit more contact there at turn 4, but either way, the car was soon on the verge and out of the race. And then the 2 teammates, it didn't always look as though they were teammates, but certainly the number 8 Porsche driven by Setiawan Santoso and Adrian De Silva getting very, very close indeed. And Setiawan, unfortunately for him, he attacked, and eventually he spun, and that took the pressure off. But this is a dive just before the spin, down into turn 1, just covered off by Adrian De Silva. But look, turn 1 keeps on turning right, you get to turn 2. This is the point, Setiawan goes a little too tight onto the inside of the corner, and the tail swings around, pendulum effect, round he goes. And that took him out of the battle, but it was to fight back, that was for sure. Then we suddenly had the flurry. Yasser Shahin came in from 2nd place, but everybody in behind hit the deck and came in behind him. But then there was a really, really slow pit stop. Can't tell you exactly for why for the Ferrari, and it came out fighting with the AMAC Motorsport Porsche, having been 6 positions ahead of it before those pit stops. And this is where there was a little bit of body contact. Ben Porter and Shogo Mitsuyama, and fortunately nobody got any punctures running over the debris on the start-finish straight. But at this point, after a brilliant takeover after the pit stops, Nick Foster picked off Sandy Stuvik and then pulled a clear. And then Earl Bamber worked his way from 4th to 3rd, 3rd to 2nd, and gave chase, but it was always about 5 seconds. Came down to just below that at the end of the race, but it was a case of what might be, because the steering was a little bit out of true for Earl Bamber, the double Le Mans winner. Great chase from Reid Harker, but this is the order at the finish of the race. Lights flashing, the 99 Mercedes, Nick Foster at the wheel, 4.4 seconds to good, and then Earl Bamber chasing home in 2nd place, and the sister car from EBM Racing comes through at the end to take 3rd place. And for Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, who's doing the hugging, and Nick Foster still with his helmet on, it was a good afternoon's work. And drivers are getting ready to go onto the podium, And a good crowd of people, photographers, friends, family and crew down below waiting to greet them. And the cameramen, of course, up on the podium. And welcome, we'll have 6 very hot drivers coming up, one would suggest. So let us enjoy the experience of the opening podium of the 2020 Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. To the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podium ceremony of Race 1, Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS at Sepang International Circuit. We now have the overall and AM class winners. We welcome with applause in 3rd position in car number 8, Setiawan Sentosa and Reid Harker.
So out onto the podium, the
in 2nd
crew that
position
came home
in car
third,
number
Reid
11,
Harker
Adrian Silva and Earl Bamba. And in 1st position, car 99, Jeffrey Ibrahim and Nick Foster.
Well, 2 incredibly happy drivers on the top step of the podium. I'd say those in 2nd and 3rd pretty pleased with life as well.
And in 1st for AM class, Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter.
So the AM winners as well. Their first run with the Porsche.
Glad Executive Officer Ern Azhan Shafriman Hanif to award the trophies.
So the first golden trophies of the season for the drivers up on the top step. Got to do it all over again tomorrow. Will it be the same order? I don't think so. I think this is going to be a really competitive outing. And when the drivers that started 2nd today will start 1st tomorrow. So the grid order's different, the drive order's
now
different.
For photo. And champagne time!
So all the drivers who only have 1 race suit have decided to keep it sweet. Jeffrey Ibrahim very quick on the track, but even quicker off the podium. But for a lot of these drivers, it's a case of 2 years of not doing this, and now they're doing it all over again. They're out there racing, some are winning, and they're all spraying champagne, and that's what a lot of this is about. So it's great to be back, but first blood to Mercedes with 2 Porsches challenging them. It could be 2 Mercedes at the top tomorrow. It could be 2 Porsches. It could be that Ferrari. That's what we like, the uncertainty of motor racing. And for Andrew McPherson always enjoys his podium ceremonies, and Ben Porter in on the act as well as the winners of the AM class. As the celebratory music rings out, and still ruining that poor start but smiling about the chase. Adrian Silva, such a great competitive element here in Malaysia, and loving every single moment, which we all are, because we're racing again, and that is what really, really counts. It's great to be back. So tomorrow's race will be at midday. It could be rain, but we know it's going to be hot, we know it's going to be humid, we know the order is going to be shuffled, but I think that was a very good starter. And when we go to the first of the 4 rounds in Japan, we're expecting, here we are, 16th and 17th of July, the first of 4 rounds there, we're expecting 25 cars, and it should grow from there. And I would warrant, by the time we get back to Sepang at this time in 2023, we will have between 25 and 30 cars on the grid. But the important thing, we're racing again. Suzuka, Fuji, Sugo, Okayama, and then a new track to us, of course, Mandalika down in Indonesia. Can't wait to see how the racing happens there. But we've got the show on the road, and that's the important thing after so many near false starts. But all is just fair set for the 2022 season. And I think that's been a really good start. And I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow, because there were a few fumbles today, but let's take a look at those results one more time. Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim and Nick Foster taking victory in the number 99 Mercedes from 888 JMR. Then those 2 Porsches, Adrian Silva, Earl Bamba, Setiawan Sentosa and Reid Harker, both going very well for EBM Giga Racing. And the car that started on pole I think that could take a tilt tomorrow when they get things right, hopefully, in their pit stop. It's the new kid on the block, if you will, Yigibo Racing, Naoki Yokomizo and Shogo Mitsuyama. They could be a big, big factor. But then don't forget, Jasmine Jafar will have something to say about that. Come back tomorrow at noon.